Game design can be really, really tricky, and it's easy to have the beginner pitfalls that we all end up in, but hopefully this video will help you avoid that. So without wasting your time, here's 5 game design mistakes that I would recommend you avoid. First is lack of variety. Most successful games have variety in them, and what I mean by this is if you take like a JRPG, there's usually mini games or like side quests or puzzles or different things, like how Final Fantasy VII has that like snowboarding game, or Resident Evil even has puzzles and all that stuff. That's variety. Anything that breaks up the pace and changes it up so you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. Because if you look at a lot of negative reviews, they often say that. It was just repetitive, it was the same thing, blah, blah, blah. Next is difficulty. A lot of people struggle with this. They sometimes make their games too hard or too easy. What I would recommend is difficulty should always start easy and increase over time. Unless you have options for like difficulty settings where someone can choose very hard right out the gate if they want that hardcore experience and they want to struggle for whatever reason. Maybe they're masochists, I don't know. But generally, you want the player to start off easy because it gives them a chance to get used to the game, the mechanics, the movement, all the things that they need to learn. Once they learn that, then they can get better as they get more challenges, they adapt the controls, and then it's that nice steady flow of reward. So save your really difficult enemies or really difficult puzzles for later in the game. And speaking of that, the next one is throwing too many mechanics at the player at once. This actually happened when I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I just started it, and it was just system after system, tutorial after tutorial, and it was throwing so much at me that it was like information overload, and I was getting brain fatigue, and it was just like, I would have really preferred if they just taught me one thing, let me learn that thing, get used to it, have fun with it, and then once I'm in a different area or a different chapter, then it's like, hey, here's a new mechanic. So don't throw everything at your players all at once. If you've got levels, save mechanics for future levels. Don't overwhelm your player. Next is lack of testing. Listen to me very carefully if you're a game developer when I say this. You are the worst person to playtest your game. Have literally anyone else playtest it. Let them give you feedback because you would be shocked. I have had people playtest my games that I thought were very clear. Here's where you're supposed to go. How could anyone miss this? And there's always something where they're walking right by the button they're supposed to push and it's just not visible enough. Or they're going around in circles because they're not sure where to go. Maybe the camera isn't showing something. There's so many little things that you don't realize. And have your mom, have your spouse, have your child, whoever, your friend, your coworker, somebody, they will be happy to play test your game. Bring them over, have some food, make it fun. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. If you don't have friends in real life because, the world is the way that it is now, look for people online to play test your game, or even better, you can put a free demo on somewhere like itch.io and then have people on the internet playtest it for you, and then just look at their feedback. Don't take it personally. They're here to help. Whether they mean to or not, even if they're insulting your game, they're actually helping you. So if they're like, this game sucks, blah, 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 figure out why. What was the problem? Reach out to them. But please, please, please have somebody playtest your game. The ideal situation that I would recommend is have someone play the game while you sit behind them, and you are not allowed to help them or tell them anywhere to go or give them any hints. You just sit there and you take notes for you, and then after their play session, you know what needs to be fixed. It's pretty simple, but it will dramatically improve your game, I promise. And the last one is the most dangerous one, and it's probably one that you might already know about, and that is feature creep, also known as scope creep. And what this is you start off making a platformer game. Very simple. But then you're like, ooh, what if we add a store and you can buy upgrades? And then you're like, oh, but what if we add multiple upgrades and then the upgrades can be leveled up? and then you're like, oh, what if you have to do these mini games to get coins to use in the shop, so the only way you can unlock, you keep going, and before you know it, your game is so big and has so many features that you're never going to finish it. So as painful as it is, think if you get really excited about those features, write them down and then save them for the sequel. You know, make the game, the second game, better, but don't overcram your game with features that are just going to never be implemented. They're going to overwhelm you. Have a very clear list, an organized list of all the game mechanics that need to be made, because that should be your first priority anyway. And then that's it. Be very strict about it. And again, if you come up with something that just really excites you, save it for the sequel, or maybe save it for a future game. So there you go. 5 game design mistakes that I would personally recommend you avoid. I hope that offered some sort of insight. How many of these are you guilty of? Let me know down in the comments, and if you have any requests for future tutorials, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and happy game deving.